Hello. Today I'd like to give a presentation with the title of large-scale media service development at LINE News and project management. I am Masaki Nakagawa from Development Center 3, responsible of LINE News Development Management. This is the agenda for today. First, I'd like to introduce to you the LINE News services and then talk what we believe are important elements in media service development and what were real challenges we experienced in LINE News Development Project and how we have been addressing them. So first about LINE News. This is a brief presentation of history of LINE News services. In 2013, it was released as a native app and website. After, in 2017, within LINE app, it was added as a new tab. I think many of you are familiar with that. And this year in 2020, the close of native app, which we have been working together since the launch, has been happening as a big event. So this is the evolution of the scale of the users. In the launch year 2013, 3 million monthly active users, and it increased continuously in 2017 with the new tab addition, 59 million MAU, and in April 2020, over 75 million. And as of 2020, this year, the access scale of the content is 17.5 billion page views per month. So it is really a large scale. In terms of content provided by LINE News, main contents are news articles and then also the emergency protection information about earthquake, disasters, transportation status, lifestyle information or fortune tellings or football or baseball games live play-by-play. So it's very diverse. And then in the team of LINE News, we have 14 server-side engineers, 10 front-end engineers, QA testers, 14 people, and only 1 PM. And then the product planners that in the biggest circle on the slides, over 50. So it's quite a big family. In LINE News development teams, currently front-end engineers, server-side engineers, product planners, testers, composes cross-functional small teams, and there are multiple small teams. And in each of smaller teams, planners are playing a role of product owners, and server-side engineers are assigned to each small team as lead engineer. I will elaborate it on further later. And then manager and leaders and PMs from each functional organizations are involved with the small teams as a servant leaders. And in one small team, there is one product owner and there are engineer testers, a few of them by functional organizations, and then about 10 people members of one single team. And in the terms of small teams, we have currently JKL, 3 of them. And then they have names, Team Joker, King, and Legend. Naming of teams are decided by voting by members amongst some candidate names. And maybe you realize that team names are based on the alphabetical orders. If you look at this Slack channel list screenshot, D, Discovery, E, Explorer, F, Fictions, there used to be these 3 teams as well. This is just a deviation. At the beginning, small teams' names started then with A and then went to B and C, increasing, and with the generation changes, D, E, F replaced. And the next one, G, H, I. Actually, for G and I, other organizations were already using the G or I names, so we decided to skip, and so H as well. Therefore, after D, E, F, JKL, these 3 alphabet characters were chosen for the current generation's small teams' names, and the LINE News system composition is shown here. The main parties application and the CMS doing the submission of articles and the management of them, and also batches to acquire external contents and API to collaborate with external systems. Application layer partly comprises Perl, but mostly Java. Service front is inserted CDN, database cache middleware, MySQL, Memcached, and Redis and Kafka. If you have web application development experiences, then I think it appears as a quite a general structure that you are familiarized with. Now, these are the trends of the traffic that this system is actually receiving. At noon, around noon, there is one big peak. And after that, between 6 p.m. and 10 p.m., there are peaks in a staggered manner. And so you can see that during lunch break time and then after work, when users get back home, line news contents are heavily used by many users. At the system workload peak, users need to be able to look at the contents that they would like to see. It can sound just natural, but this is a very important mission for media services. So a stable operation is really an essential element and important element for media services. And then so the media services comprises for most part contents, as I said. However, from the system viewpoint, the contents have a main two aspects. One is a collection of contents, and the other is a delivery of contents. As I said, there are diverse types of contents treated by news. Amongst these contents, news articles are submitted by CMS, and earthquake transportation information data are acquired from outside, and so these data needs to be built as contents to be delivered by news. By treating various types of contents and the chain presentations and the data structures within the system and data flow, how to collect and create them, all changes in a various way. Some specific examples at Line News in terms of news articles, and we do not only use CMS for the article submission, but we also use RSS to collect article contents from registered media. So we do the crawling on a regular basis on relevant RSS, and then the body articles, text, images, and video are also acquired as data and then acquired within Line News. And then for the rest, they are delivered through CDN to users as news article content. And then with other RSS, the delivery part is basically the same. Now, this is about the sports live play-by-play system. So this is a live delivery of the system for sports, football and baseball. About the scoring of them, the mechanical data are automatically collected, and then live comments are overlaid with CMS, and as one single content, this is delivered. And so this is a flow. When there is a sports game, from data providers and scorers and replacement players, those live data are on real-time basis sent to Line News, and these live data are stored in the news. And the live commentaries are on CMS, added and saved within the GMS. So live data commentaries are combined and in the live flash news pages, which are delivered to users. So I showed two examples. Therefore, not only for the collection of contents, but an internal treatment of data and the contents generation and delivery are really diverse depending on the types of contents, as you can see. Therefore, within the system, coherence and scalability from these viewpoints, and we need to come up with the right overall design of the system. This is very important for the development. In other words, there are various and diverse development requirements, and similarities and relationship amongst them become very complex. Therefore, inevitably, communication with members who plan these requirements, who are called service planners at Line News, has a very great weight in the development process.
So to summarize this, Line News is a media service development, and we have stability, design, communication. Those are the very important items for us. So from now on, I would like to talk about the Line News development project, which we did for the past year. What kind of approach we took? Why do we have to look back the last year? Because just about a year ago, October 2019, I became responsible for the development management of the Line News. So in this development, there are things that I thought and that I implemented. So I would like to share those with you. And then if we look back further than the 1 year, the team started in spring of 2019. So I would like to go back to that point. So spring 2019, I had this organization, frontline and the server side engineers and the QA people and the manager and the leaders were there. And then there are members of each team, and the manager is assigning the task to them. So in order to decide the task, the planning person has some case and explain the case to the development manager, and the manager and the PM and then a planning person having the detailed discussion and then make it as a task for the development. And that task will be assigned to the developer. That was the flow. And the problem was that since the size is expanding, we have a lot of volume for development, and it gets more complicated. And the lead time gets longer and longer. And with the expansion of the team, the managers and the leaders cannot look at all the cases and make the assignment. Because if they do so, they're going to have the overload, and they could be the bottleneck for the total flow. That was a problem. So in order to solve the problems, we have to shorten the lead time, and then we have to have the good team structure so that it can be easily scaled up. So we made a cross-functional small team, and then that small team would have the authority. So that is a Scrum. And then team structure has been changed like this into the small teams. That happened about a year ago. And with this structure, from the planning, we asked them to participate into the development team. And the lead time and the manager dependence issue were the development side problem. But now we have asked the planning person to come to this organization actively because there were a true problem behind that. So there was the communication problem between planning and the development team. So our work was done in silo system, and each task has the person in charge. And then that is the same for the development and the planner. Both. So each team is assigned a team, and all they have to do is to proceed the task. And they didn't understand why do we have to develop this feature? What do we need to provide to the user? And then they felt that they were forced to do this, and that they could not make the positive proposal to the planning side, and they could not take the lead. So the relationship between planning and the development was not very good. Rather than that, it was very cold. And then I talked to the people who were the stakeholders, and they say, okay, to talk about this. And then the developer should not take that defiant attitude, and they should come into this program actively. And then development manager is that the current news development is not interesting at all. So about a month, after a month, I came to this news development, and then I found out that this this was a real problem, I understood. So communication issues was very heavy and very deep. So I should start from there. So communication, and then is a problem, and there was a gap between teams. So we had to discuss it thoroughly, I thought. So I spent so much time talking to various people, and then we didn't have the COVID-19 issues, so we went for drinking to have a discussion. And then development manager, I talked with them a lot, and then development members, I tried to have the one-on-one communication very actively, and the service planning and the business person, I had a dialogue with them as well. And during the discourse, sometimes we exchange two candid opinions, and then they say, that wasn't what I expected. They were shocked and went home. But it was necessary to go through this process because we really wanted to dig into the real problem and then establish a good relationship among us. So the problem is by increasing the number of the people and the hierarchical organization, the people started to feel I am not the stakeholder, and then communication was lacking, and then there were the division of the work, and then the task is just a task to complete, and then they don't feel I am the person who is responsible for this. So small team was created. But it needs a very good design to cope with these problems, particularly the stakeholders' vision, and then the whole vision of the project is important to understand. So just not explaining what we do, but we need to explain the background and the objective and what kind of effects we are expecting to have. So that kind of things needs to be discussed thoroughly, and then we should share those things. So in the line news, we have the small team organization, and as a backlog refinement, the explanation to the development from the planning was done. So first, the development manager attended and then listened to the explanation of the case from the planning. So background and the objective and what is expected needs to be well explained, and the manager should go back and explain it to the member of the team with a certain context. So that's where we started. And the explanation from the planning should be well understood by the development team. So we started to write the design document. Design document is talking about the background, objective of the development, what, how, and why of the system design, and then a security risk, and the test, and the operation policy, and how to proceed the project. Those things is covered in this design document. So by writing this, the explanation of the refinement, background, and the expected result can be well understood. And it is a very convenient tool for the sharing the designs. So this design document is shared on a regular basis, and then we use it for proceed the development case. And this is the design document which is the Line News is actually using right now. There are not so many items, and documentation, if it becomes too heavy and too large, people stop writing, and sometimes very important information is missed. That is not good. So we need to ask them to write the minimum necessary information in this design document. So this is the format.
So I would like to go into some details about the specific contents. Project info part is the so-called bibliographic items. In development projects of Line News, and specifications document are raised in wiki, and then as development request tasks and epic tickets are issued on BTS. So those links are described in this section so that the planning specifications and development specifications are related to each other. And you can also see who are responsible of the project. Planners, server-side engineers, front-side engineers, QA, tester, all of the members. When the members' identity are available here, then when other people look at this design document and have questions about specific aspects, it is clear at a glance who is the right person for the question. So it's highly recommended. And then we decided to have a glossary here, project-specific terminologies and the names of collaborating external systems, if any, they are listed up. It is also very useful when other people look at the design document later on. And then this is the background and goals sections of the project. When we write design document, these are the most important points. In the goals section, we clearly define what we are going to develop in a very clear way. And then what will be the target and goal to be achieved by this development. In the background section, why we do this development is to be clearly described. The environmental factors, social background, the business requirements which led to this plannings and the project. These are to be described in this section. With these two sections, you can see what are the backgrounds of this development projects, and then what needs to be achieved, and then what should be developed to achieve that goal. Those are clearly defined and described. So you have a detailed contents of the so-called requirements specifications. Developers need to understand clearly the projects and the background and goal. Otherwise, these sections cannot be clearly written down. As a result of that, the understanding of intent of the project can be improved by this process of writing these sections. Now, from now onwards, I'd like to talk about the development items sections. First, in the functional requirement sections, as its name shows, there is a list of features and what needs to be achieved by the systems as functionalities through this development. Next is the design overview. This is about overall system architecture, including external systems. Overall linkages and relations need to be easy to understand, so we decided to use a system configuration diagram for that. That is highly recommended. Of course, you can use other diagrams, but an overall view of the system of the development and the key points need to be clearly shown. Next section is about the detailed design. These are about system's internal components, diagram, database, scheme, design, and API specifications. When you start writing design document, often this level of details of design cannot be really available to be described, so description can go step by step here, or there can be links to separate detailed design documents. What is important is that there is no disconnection, finally, between design document and the detailed design. Last one are the sections about special notes and references. Special notes are about known issues, security risks, project rules, constraints, and prohibitions. The point is that at the development and the design stages or after the releases, and what are the points to which we need to pay attention for the operation after release and modifications. References including information links, and also if there are preceding similar specifications of projects or design documents or phasing, and those are prior information pieces, and also collaborating external system specifications are included in this section. So this is the summary of the design document, and at Line News, this is created as wikis document templates, and for each individual project, we create, starting from those templates, actual design documents. That's the operation. And then in order to proceed with the development process based on design document base with our small teams, we decided to assign a lead engineer as a role of architect for teams' internal reviews and consultations on design, as well as to determine policies when the decisions are not simple to be made. In general, in Scrum model, there is no lead role in teams. However, this time, this was not for the purpose of team management, but as an architect to technically lead the team, and also to play the role of contact point, to have a understanding, penetrating well the team regarding a project intent and background. So we decided to include this role, although it's not included in Scrum model usually. And this was also related to resolving the issues surrounding the design. I talked about the importance of coherence and scalability allowed for the overall system, and also considering the creation and sharing of design document, and we decided to do the bottom-up of a design process through design review led by lead engineer. And with this lead engineer in place, lead engineer started to participate in the backlog requirement. By this participation of a lead engineer, who is a member of a small team to the backlog refinement, the background and goal of projects became better communicated to the team, and in the place of refinement, concrete feedbacks from development side to planning side about the future design and implementations were more clearly communicated. So the quality of communication improved as well as a result of that. By starting this structure with the lead engineers, we experienced many positive effects from planners. This was very well received with many positive feedbacks in general. Some of the feedbacks say that they can reach out to the development manager and don't know who to consult with, and in this type of situation, lead engineers can be the contact point. So it helps asking questions or consultations. So it is said to be very helpful. Also, in the small teams, by clearing what the role of architect means, lead engineers are now responsible of leading the design and decision makings about the design. And by this structure, design decisions are more appropriately made. At the beginning, for small teams, autonomous and flat aspects were too emphasized, I would say, and the Scrum Master was only a neutral facilitator initially. So when decisions were needed to be made about design, the Scrum Master mainly just prompted other members to do so by asking what to do you want to do.
So it was advantageous for the people who had the light voice. That was the situation. And then the judgment was made under that situation. So design judgment, the architect should have the role and the responsibility, and then it's clear. They don't worry about the light voice, and the lead engineer can make the judgment or decision. And then not just the design judgment, they can lead the discussion among the team so that the team can have the better communication. So lead engineer is more quickly able to move around with his role, and he has awareness of his own responsibility, and that will contribute to his motivation, and then this will give the good effect. And then, as a result of that, they can get the better feedback from the people around. This is a positive spiral. So the role of a lead engineer fits very well for the current line use development project. So we have been talking about the problem between planning and development. We try to solve the communication problems one by one. And then we created a design document, and then lead engineering to the team, so we could have the bottom up in the design side. So we started to see these results, and the development team tried to address the system stable operation issue. So system needs to be maintained. That is a very important point for the line use. So line use web application, most of the part of that part is the Java and the Spring Boot version staying very old, not updated, and the maintenance and the refactoring are necessary, but the people cannot address those, because they have to pay attention to the feature development, and they cannot allocate their time for the refactoring. And in line use, we made it simple. Refactoring and the development task, we made to do that, we made the dev infra team. And user for the line use is the services for the user, and there are some things they would not provide the direct value to the user, so it is not easy to prioritize them. So each development task and system maintenance would give what kind of a benefit and what kind of impact they should give, and then that part needs to be well discussed and understand with the business owner. So planning and the development try to improve the communication. Now this kind of story can be shared among them so dev infra team as a result of that is now newly born. So the issue for this team is the Java upgrade, Spring Boot upgrade, and the Perl should migrate to Java. So those are the three issues we had. So this independent team was born in this spring. After 6 months up until now, Java and the Spring Boot major version up were successfully completed. And regarding the Perl to Java migration, it's still remaining and standing right in front of us as a last boss. And for this one, I would like to have another opportunity to talk about that. So I've been talking about the actions we took. I would like to wrap up. So in the past year, we did a lot of approaches and activities. To summarize that, we tried to understand what is the problem. In order to do that, we had a very good discussion and development process and team organization were refined. Is that it? You may think. Of course, there are more detailed activities we did, and the level of the activity is different, sometimes big and sometimes small. But basically, that's what we did. Find out the problem, try to solve the problem. And this process was reiterated in the past year. So there's no quick remedy, magic for the project management. We have to continue and repeat the dialogue and establish the trust relationship, find the problem, and then analyze the situation and find out the problem and then improve those. So finding the problems and then finding the solution is the process. We have to continue to do this quietly and solemnly. That could be the shortest path. Particularly, we had the communication problem and process problems. This is not the technical issues, not like introducing the new technology can solve this one. So we have to do whatever we have to do solemnly. And in order to do that, there are 2 points that I'm always having in my mind. So first one is make a quick decision. Because there are things that needs to be decided. What do we have to do? And if that's been decided, then people can start doing that solemnly. So the biggest bottleneck is that people make decision. So don't spend so much time in making decision so that everybody can stand up and move forward. So that is project management, the first point of the project management. Very important. And another one is sharing a vision. What is happening right now, and what do we have to do for that, and with what kind of regions? So those visions should be shared and goals should be clarified. Where should we go? And that should be well understood and convinced. When you say, let's do this, but if you don't understand why do we have to do this, if you're not convinced, you may not get motivated to do that. If it was me, I don't like that if I am not convinced. So as for the lead engineer style, there's no lead engineer in the Scrum rule. So if we say, let's have it, and then people might ask, why? We explained why do we need to introduce this and how what kind of effects we would like to have by having the lead engineer. We explained the vision and it was important for them to understand our intention. So if necessary, we repeatedly explain the same thing. So if it's a map, it's something like a route and a destination. These needs to be decided. Which route you should take, and then what is the significance of that, and what is the destination after the path. And if everything is there, then people can follow the path to reach the destination. And the line user development is a very large and faultless service operation, and we have to make appropriate design to realize that. And so it may sound easy, but keep continuing doing that is really hard, and we need to have the technical capability as well. So we have to maintain this project environment firmly, and we sometimes consult with the planner so that the service value can be delivered to the user, so that we should take out all the obstacles for the project management and then push this project forward. So I hope this information will be helpful for the project management. Thank you very much.